welcome to my channel, The Narcissist Guy. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope that you're having a good day, and for those of you who are going through healing, I hope that you're staying strong. Now, in today's episode, I would like to talk about blame shifting. What is blame shifting? I will be going through a few types of narcissistic blame shifting and how narcissists use sneaky ways to get away with blame shifting. Now, what is blame shifting? Blame shifting is escaping responsibility. Blame shifting is an emotionally abusive behavior or tactic. Now, abusers have difficulty taking responsibility for problems. They go as far as necessary to attribute blame for their circumstances to anyone else, even if it may sound somewhat conspiratorial. Similarly, they don't accept ownership of their emotions. They typically express both negative and positive feelings with language like, "You make me so mad." Blame may be attributed more subtly by starting with first-person language, as with, "I wouldn't have to do this if you didn't." An abuser has a great capacity for self-deception. He projects the blame for his relationship difficulties onto his partner. He wouldn't get angry if only she would not nag him so much. He would not lie if she didn't get upset. An emotional abuser sets up a dynamic where the victim comes to believe that they are to blame and that they must work harder to fix the problems, such as improving the relationship. This never works because the problem is not the victim. The abusive behavior is the problem. Nothing you do will change that. No matter how nice and accommodating you are, nothing that you do will change an emotionally abusive person's behavior. In fact, many people get even more aggressive when you try to make it better, because they sense that you think it's your fault, and this confirms their own beliefs. Blame shifting or blaming the victim is a form of context switching and crazy making. When you are confronting them on something they did or attempting to set boundaries, they switch the whole focus back to you and thus put you on the defensive. Now, the focus is on you and they slither away. This gets you way off track and off balance, right where they want you derailed. Clever, unless you are in the receiving end of this crazy making. In order to discredit a victim, an abuser will often blame the victim for their own actions, even going so far as to say the victim is in fact the one who committed the abuse. This may cause the victim to feel defeated or like they are losing their mind. In a particularly weakened state, the victim may even believe they are at fault. Abusers often claim friends, family, mental health professionals, church leaders, or other authorities are in agreement with them, which has the effect of isolating the victim and preventing the victim from getting help. Now, the abuser has all the power and control over the victim and their relationship. Blame shifting is a way to escape taking responsibility. Now, let's go through a few examples where narcissists will blame shift. Okay, now, techniques the narcissist will use. First of all, they'll be playing the victim. This is one of the most common ones. You might ask your partner to stop criticizing or ridiculing you, since that situation paints you as a victim. They are quick to turn the tables because they always need to be the biggest victim. So instead of addressing your legitimate concerns, they bring up or even make up something completely unrelated from the past, where they claim you have hurt them. Before you know it, you are the one apologizing to the narcissist. And notice when they bring up something from the past that happened years ago, and they still remember and they will bring it up. They have a very good memory. They're very good at playing a victim. You will also always see them blaming their past or their childhood, not taking responsibility. The narcissist loves to play the victim, especially, and I've said this so many times before and I'm gonna tell you again, the covert narcissist is a very great actor, and she is always looking for pityness, compassion. She always plays the victim, and she is never responsible for her behavior, for her own actions, because she is a snake. Now, tactic number 2. They minimize your feelings. If they hurt your feelings, you might calmly express that to them and ask them to stop. They will then laugh at, dismiss, or ridicule your feelings. Like they would say, you're too sensitive, you're crazy, you're hysterical, you have no sense of humor, or calm down. The blame is no longer on them for misbehaving, but instead on you for reacting to their misbehavior. Ironically, if you ever criticize a narcissist the way they regularly criticize you, they flip out. So it's pretty bizarre when they blame you for having thin skin. Okay, you see them doing this a lot. You see them flipping out, you see them raising their voice, you see them just, being childish. Like you can see the 6-year-old within them coming out when it happens to them. Okay, now what they also do is arguing about the argument. Every argument becomes a meta discussion about the argument itself, rather than the point you're actually trying to make. They pull you into pointless fights, mincing words, and debating semantics in order to put you on the defense. Instead of discussing your legitimate concerns, they comment on your tone and accuse you of doing things they are doing, like playing the victim, gaslighting, projecting. The blame is no longer on them, but instead the way you approach the argument. Narcissists are masters in playing the victim, gaslighting, and projecting. So now they're trying to blame it off on you. Now this one, the guilt tripping and pity stories, this is a very, very favorite one for a narcissist to use, this technique. And this one they often use, when they have people who are very, sympathetic. Okay, so if you're prone to feeling sympathetic for others, chances are they'll go for this one a lot. If you point out something hurtful they've done, they will start talking about their abusive childhood or an evil ex. Before you know it, you're comforting them, even though they hurt your feelings. After all, how can you be mad at someone when they open up to you about something so traumatic? Well, that's the point. Everyone goes through trials and tribulations, but healthy individuals don't use those experiences as excuses to harm others, and they certainly don't bring up those pity stories to conveniently avoid taking responsibility for their behavior. And again, you hear the covert narcissist talking about that they might not have been brought up by a mom, or they have been abused by people in their childhood, or they come with all those pity stories. And even if they have happened, just like I said, everybody goes through, difficult challenges, trials, okay, in life, but you're not going to use them to avoid accountability or responsibility for your behavior. And a narcissist uses this a lot. They always play the victim. They always come up with traumatic stories from their past, just to get that pityness from people around them, and that gives them narcissistic supply. Okay, now this next one I'm gonna call the stink bomb. This is the last resort, usually when they've been blatantly caught or called out for something they know they did wrong. Remember, shame is an unacceptable sensation to people with cluster B disorders, and so they throw a completely unfounded, terrible accusation at you. You okay? Like you think you have a slam dunk case, proof, evidence, everything, and then they come back with this. Okay, they will say, well, you abused me, you hit me, you raped me, you cheated on me, you never loved me, you're mentally ill, you're stalking me. Okay, Suddenly your slam dunk case isn't such a slam dunk anymore. Now you are defending yourself against wild accusations that you never could have even dreamed of. Okay, who could prepare for that? And once again, that's the whole point. The blame is now off of them, and now you are the one in hot water. Okay. Now we know, narcissistic people are tricky to deal with because they are all into themselves. Whenever they are at fault for something, they try to lay the blame onto other people because either it hurts their ego to think that they were wrong, and even if they know that they are wrong, narcissist wants to avoid acknowledging it at all costs, even if they are unethically avoiding the truth. Now, here are 13 sneaky ways narcissist gets away with blame shifting, okay? Now, here is sneaky way number 1, ignoring the facts. A narcissist person might try to move fault to others by completely ignoring the part of the situation in which she is at fault. The narcissist might altogether refuse to acknowledge aspects of the situation where the narcissist did something wrong. For example, in conversation, the narcissist might adamantly refuse to talk about something and pretend that it did not come up. The person might even refuse to speak to you, okay? Or they will go into hiding, they would go to their room or whatever, or they would say, I've got a headache. You will hear all sorts of excuses just to have this narcissist refuse to speak to you, okay? Now, sneaky way number 2 is citing religious reasons. Now, in a situation where there are highly religious people, a narcissistic person might use religion to shift fault onto another person. This is done by using twisted religious rhetoric to justify why someone else is at fault. For example, let's say that something terrible happens and it's the fault of the narcissistic person. The narcissist might turn the failure on other people by saying, this happened not because of what I did, but because you did something and God didn't like it. Or they use the scripture game. Covert religious narcissists love to use the scripture game. Okay, they use the scripture game as their personal marketing machine. They know a handful of verses from the Bible, and they use them to justify their behavior or actions. Now, sneaky way number 3, playing victim card and victim blaming. To shift blame to others, a narcissist might attempt to play the victim card. For example, if the narcissistic person was wronged to some extent, the narcissist may overemphasize that fact in a quest to get pity from others and shift blame onto someone else. The narcissist might try to make it seem that he or she is being victimized, overrides the fact that the narcissist is at fault. Now, sneaky way number 4, overt manipulation. Manipulation is one of the main tools that narcissistic people have in their arsenals. They know the emotional states and feelings of people around them, which they use to sculpt the things that they say and do. Manipulation can take many forms. One manipulation tactic is to act overly emotional and sad. For example, a narcissistic person might try to avoid being blamed by crying and acting vulnerable, or she might try to accuse you of being a terrible person for not being sympathetic if you are wise to the tactics and refuse to succumb to it. Now, on the other hand, a narcissistic person might act angry and aggressive, hoping that you'll forget all about putting the fault on them out of fear. They could yell around or physically abuse people. The person could play on whatever insecurities you have about yourself and life. For a narcissist, the game of manipulation tactics is endless, okay? They use it in very flexible forms. Now, sneaky way number 5, adopting a my way or the highway attitude. Narcissistic people like to talk over others and monopolize conversations. A narcissistic person who wants to accuse others of being at fault, or others might speak over other people, keeping them from getting their words in. Narcissistic people that if they overtalk and yell over people, it will get into everyone's head that they are not the ones at fault. And you will keep hearing them talking and talking and talking and talking, and you will see stuff that wasn't there, by gaslighting as well. So they can combine it with gaslighting. Now that is sneaky way number 6, gaslighting others. Gaslighting is when you try to make someone think that they are crazy for having their beliefs, concerns, and thoughts. This behavior is a manipulation tactic in which one person works to make another person doubt himself or herself. A narcissistic person can use gaslighting to default onto someone else. For example, someone might understand that a narcissistic person is in the wrong for a variety of different reasons. The narcissistic person might combat this by saying, "Oh, you're simply crazy. Your concerns about me being in the wrong are results of you being off balanced." This behavior is emotional abuse. Plain and simple. Gaslighting is one of the most toxic manipulation tactics the narcissists use, and they use it to make you question your own sanity. Yeah, they will make you question reality. Okay, they will make you feel that you are the crazy one, that you have a mental disorder. They could go that far, and it is to make you feel as if maybe like, oh yeah, maybe I'm overreacting, maybe I am oversensitive. That is the purpose of gaslighting, to make you question reality and question yourself. Now, sneaky way number 7. A narcissist could straight out lie about the situation and fabricate circumstances that were not there. Narcissists could accuse you of doing something that you never did. Narcissists could make up a part of the situation that never happened. All of this just to make it look like she is not at fault. Lying is especially harmful because the sky is the limit when it comes to what someone can lie about. Lies can cause a lot of trouble. The problem is that when a narcissistic person lies, what can you do? What can you do if the person completely refuses to utter truthful words? If you are wise to this tactic, then you can easily avoid feeling that you are at fault. The real problem comes when other people believe the narcissistic person. Now, sneaky way number 8 is making unfair and untrue accusations. Some narcissistic people like to shift blame by throwing out random accusations. For example, a narcissistic person might say things like, "You punched me, you abused me, you are mentally ill, you never loved me, you're stalking me," and whatever other accusation they can think of. The point of throwing out accusations is to take attention away from the narcissist's faults. So narcissistic people do this so that the idea that someone else did something worse and is at fault for something is introduced into the conversation. They love to do that. Now, sneaky way number 9, acting dramatically. A narcissistic person might shift blame onto other people by acting overly dramatic and saying things aloud that makes it sound like others are to blame. If others are in the room, they might see the narcissist behaving dramatically and think that there's something going on and that you are the one to blame. So they love to create drama. They love it. They absolutely like it, because if they create drama in a room of people would always, ask like, what's going on? And a narcissist loves it because it gives them narcissistic supply as well. Now, sneaky way number 10, bringing up old situations. A common trick that narcissists do to avoid blame is to bring up past situations in which you were at fault or faced a shortcoming. The circumstances may have absolutely nothing to do with the current situation that they should be blamed for. Whatever conditions the narcissistic person brings up could be completely irrelevant. Okay, they love to do that. They love to bring up old situations that has happened years ago. And they just bring it up, and it has absolutely no connection to the subject that you're talking about, or it is so irrelevant. Now, sneaky way number 11 is bringing up your faults. Okay, a narcissist may also try to dodge the blame by talking about the faults of other people. They behave this way to detract away from their shortcomings. Again, the person might bring up things that are utterly irrelevant to the situation to divert away from being blamed. They are good at it. Now, sneaky way number 12 is making arguments about the argument. Okay, and I explained that before. A narcissistic person will try to pull fault away from themselves by arguing about the argument that you are having with them. For example, the person might laugh at how you speak or what you say. The narcissist might disagree about the way that you are arguing. Okay, or might even accuse you of doing what the narcissist is actually doing. Okay, you notice this when they make sarcastic remarks here, a remark there, or they shame you with something that you've done in the past, and they will embarrass you in front of people. Okay, they're very good at it. Sneaky way number 13, manipulating those around you. Okay, if the issue is only between two people, you and the narcissist, it is easier to remedy the situation by being wise to the narcissist tactics. However, if there are other people in the room who can get easily triggered by things that the narcissist says and does, you are out of luck. Okay, this is because other people may not be wise to the tactics that the narcissistic person uses. Also, the narcissist might bring up certain things about you that other people have gripes about. Being triggered to think about their grievances might make them less likely to see the current situation for how it is. Even if a narcissistic person is unable to manipulate you into thinking that they are not at fault, they may be adept at manipulating other people. Okay, if they succeed in swaying other people, they might get their way, even if you know their number, even though like for example, a narcissist who accuses you of doing something to trigger someone else in the room to be on their side. Like, here's an example. Say, if a narcissist randomly accuses you of assault, there might be someone else in the room who takes those accusations very seriously. The people in the room who hear those accusations might be, they might believe that you beat up the narcissist, for example. And even if you never did, those around you could buy into the narcissist's story. Suddenly the blame is off the narcissist and now on you. Anything can be a trigger for the people around you. Okay, you are emotionally intelligent enough to deal with the narcissist. However, that does not mean that the people around you are wise to the tactics of the narcissist. Because someone narcissistic could try any of the tactic mentioned on the people around you. Okay, a narcissistic person who weeps and acts vulnerable might pull at the heartstrings of other people. Not showing sympathy toward the narcissistic person could make you look bad in front of other people. Now you wonder what you can do. When someone blame shifts like this, there is an understandable temptation to explain yourself, defend your name, and prove your point. But the problem is, this is exactly what they want you to do. Okay, they blame shift so you will react. They often accuse you of doing things that they themselves are doing, because it's so infuriating that you just have to say something. But again, that's the point. By sucking you into these arguments, they are consuming your energy and watching you progressively self-destruct, so they can use your reactions to prove their own points. Like, wow, look how bitter and angry you are. You know what I mean? Okay, there is this term. The term is JADE. JADE stands for justify, argue, defend, explain. When it comes to cluster B disorders, don't do those things. You will feel compelled to, but don't. When you try to defend yourself against a false accusation, you legitimize it by even acknowledging it. Okay, the only way to respond to these tactics is to stand up and walk away. Odds are you are an overly reasonable person who is always trying to see things from everyone else's perspective. You constantly worry that you're being unfair, or you think like, oh no, what if I actually am this terrible thing they're accusing me of, or which make you a prime target to people like narcissists, because unfortunately in your worry and self-doubt about being unfair, you fail to see actually unfair situations. Okay. Now, so in conclusion, these are the ways that narcissists try to place blame on other people. They bring up old situations from the past that are irrelevant to the current situation. They use manipulation tactics, try to manipulate those around the initial person who they are talking to, lie, make up false accusations, act overly dramatic, gaslight people, ignore any conversations about them being at fault, talk over people, and act aggressively when people try to point out the truth. Okay, the narcissist hates the truth. It is their truth and not the truth. Okay, now that is what I wanted to talk to you about. I hope that it was a very interesting subject for you. If it was, please subscribe to my channel on YouTube, The Narcissist Guide. Thank you so very much for listening today, and see you next time.